Hamakom Hazeh, next Monday. So, let's begin on all fours, or biped as we call it. If you do not have happy wrists or happy knees, by all means, you're going to take this in the chair and get all the same benefit. Don't worry about it. If you want to put a blanket down under your knees or under your hands, go for it. We're going to start with cat and cow. So of course, if you're in the chair, it's going to look like this. If you're on all fours, the knees are directly below the hips. The wrists are just below the shoulders. Spreading the fingers, really grounding the palms and drawing up out of the wrist. We don't want to put too much downward weight. Just draw the navel slightly to the spine for a moment and hold it, and just feel how it feels to support the spine and engage the core. And then you can release that. And one more time, just lightly draw the navel toward the spine. You don't have to hold your breath, you can breathe through it, but just that feeling of sort of applying a scaffolding. And then you can release. And we'll move into some cat and cow. So as we inhale, it's lifting the sitting bones, letting the belly drop, widening the collarbones, and then the gaze can come forward or up depending on your mobility here. As we exhale, it's curling the tailbone, letting the mid-back dome up and the crown of the head drop. Full exhale. Inhaling and arching nice and smooth. And exhaling and curling. Keep this going, and of course if you're in the chair, you can really feel that movement from the front to the back of the sitting bones, back and forth. And just really diving in as we begin to land, as we begin to open practice, diving into sensation and diving into this coordination of breath with movement. Letting it be yours, making it yours, making some space for those intervertebral discs to be nourished, to have good health. We really want that. And then pause, come back to neutral. And we're going to take the rib cage in a circle. So sometimes I like to call this stirring the navel, kind of taking the navel around in a circle, but you could also think that you're moving your rib cage around the inside of an oak barrel, for instance. So we're going in circles, whether you're seated or whether you're at the floor. And you can take these circles as small or as large. They can be quite wide. You can dip the chest down to the floor and bend the elbows if you like. Or you could make it smaller and then change directions. So we're just looking for some nice mobility in the rib cage. Let the breath coordinate any which way it does. The main thing is just to keep breathing, not to hold the breath. Good, and then pause for a moment, sit back to the heels or just sit tall in your chair. Take the hands to the thighs or toward the knees, straighten the arms, press the thighs away, and just feel a lift of the crown of the head. A widening of the collarbones and the outer shoulders. And a dropping of the shoulder blades in the back, or I should say, just a lengthening downward. Feeling that those bottom tips of the shoulder blades move down. So there's some action here, really engaging the lat muscles. Builds a little heat. Not too much effort, 50-60% effort. Then release that for a moment. We'll come back to all fours. If you're seated in the chair, you might want to stand and go to the back of the chair or the side of the chair. We're going to do a balance exercise known as bird dog. And you can do it standing as well. We're going to send the right leg back behind us and the left arm forward. So you can do it standing, just grounding on your left foot and sending the right leg to the side or to the back, however you like. And then come on down and switch. I'll show you another way you can do it on the chair. Going back and forth a couple of times. So chair could be like this, you know, just practicing your balance, or chair could be like this with a light touch. Back and forth a couple times, switching side to side. Really important that the heel is in line with the sit bone, and that the crown of the head and the neck are in line with the rest of the spine. And again, that we're not placing too much weight down into the wrists. We just want to engage the core mostly. Sacrum even, hips even. Just find this balance, flexing through that foot that's extending back, all 5 toes pointing down toward the floor. Make it just really nice and smooth. You can hold, 5 seconds or so, more if you'd like. Feeling the glute muscles fire up, the hamstrings a little bit. And then pause and come on back. Nicely done. So I'm going to share a little bit of teaching. Feel free to take a seat, or feel free to just continue a little bit with some lying down or some light stretches or breathing as feels right for your body, so that you can kind of hear my words, but you're still engaged with yourself. That's really important. So Parshat Korach, this is about power, this is about anger, and we're going to look at it through the lens of the body. I'll share in a moment. So Korach actually was a Levite, and the beginning of the Parsha, we're in Numbers, chapter 16. Now Korach, son of Ishar and son of Kehat, son of Levi, betook himself, along with Datan and Aviram, son of Eliav, and On, son of Pelet, descendants of Reuven, whole lineage, to rise up against Moses together with 250 Israelites, chieftains of the community, chosen in the assembly, men of repute. So men of high standing, but not the highest standing, because obviously Moses and Aaron are at the top of this hierarchy. They combined against Moses and Aaron and said to them, "You've gone too far, for all the community are holy. Ki chol ha'eda kulam kedoshim." We're all holy. Uvitocham Yud He Vav He, and within them, amongst them, Yud He Vav He is in their midst. So why then do you raise yourselves above the kahal, above God's congregation? Moses has really an uh-oh moment of managing the Jews, the Israelites, one more time, and says God will handle this. And we know this doesn't end very well. They get literally swallowed up by the earth. So moving forward in that same chapter, Moses is speaking. Scarcely had he finished speaking all these words when the ground under them burst asunder, and the earth opened its mouth. Vatiftach haaretz et piha, and swallowed them up with their households, all Korach's people and all their possessions. So at first blush, the complaint of Korach and his band seems reasonable. Why should power be consolidated to only a few at the top? After all, we believe in democracy. Why should it not be more democratic? It's a reasonable, sort of on the pshat level, on face level, reasonable ask. However, it was ego-driven. It wasn't grounded in God's estimation. It was a power grab. As Lord Rabbi Jonathan Sachs describes it, though they, quote, though they spoke the language of equality, what they actually wanted was power. This was argument not for the sake of truth, but for the sake of victory. So this is a lesson here about power and the abuse of power and how we can manage and temper our anger. I want to share with you a few words from Rabbi Mark Margolius. If you follow the weekly study and weekly teaching, and you're in the Midot track, then you received this yesterday. Mark tells us this: when anger overwhelms our reason and makes us lose it, it can lead to previously unthinkable actions. In place of vulnerability, anger creates an illusion of power. In place of complexity and confusion, anger creates an illusion of clarity and righteousness. As anger expands, it deforms us and the object of our hatred, obliterating the image of God. Forming around a single cell of injustice, anger can grow and metastasize. For the novelist Mary Gordon, anger is, quote, a flaming boulder that rolls and rolls down a hill, gathering mass and speed until any thought of cessation is so far besides the point as to seem hopeless. Its causes are lost in the momentum of the anger itself, unquote. So Mark goes on to say our Tikkun Midot practice invites us to apply mindfulness to our anger, exploring its roots and directing it towards wholesome and holy ends. The first step in this process is simply to practice hitlamdut, awareness, by creating space to simply grow curiosity, by creating space to simply grow in awareness of anger's presence in our mind and body without judging it. While God certainly also loses it, the Torah describes the divine essence as erech hapayim, literally long-nosed, and figuratively, as we know from the 13 attributes, slow to anger. So today what I want to explore is in our bodies. It's a little bit about where anger resides sometimes and how we can notice our anger. So the thing to do when we start to feel something arising, if we can remember, is to try and notice where to dive into the body. Where do we feel it? Sometimes we feel it as muscle tension throughout the body. Sometimes it can be localized, particularly in the jaw or the throat, or very often the solar plexus or lower abdomen. And I want to focus today a little bit on solar plexus, and we're going to focus on some twists and some core engagement. So what is the solar plexus? First of all, plexus is the Latin word for braid. So it's a braid of nerves, of ganglia that meet, and solar because they stretch out like rays of the sun. And it's located in the center of the abdomen, behind, below the diaphragm, behind the stomach, and in front of the aorta, right? So, which is the largest artery in the body. So it's in a pretty active place, shall we say. It's involved in receiving and transmitting pain, reflexes, and other sensory impulses throughout the gut. And it's also initiates the fight or flight, or freeze or flee or faint or fawn, all those words, that response. So its purpose, the solar plexus, is transformation. And its issues, this is also the place in the chakra system, the third chakra, that deals with power, will, individuation, and stable ego practice. So you could say anger is a piece of this whole thing too. The solar plexus governs the element of fire, right? So that's an anger adjacent thing. Fire is, can be positive and negative. It's strength, vitality, it's ego, it's will, it's stamina, it's your inner power. And it's the center from which you get things done. Fire is for action and transformation. So how can we be wise with this energy? And being wise with this energy first requires being attuned to this energy. So thank you for listening. That was definitely a lot. Let's move on with our practice. We're going to come to the floor to child pose. If you would like a blanket for the knees or for the hip crease, right? You could take a blanket here. You could take a blanket here. If the flexion is too much, you could take a puppy stretch, right? Or you could take a more classic child pose. Do what works for you. If you're in the chair, can be forearms to thighs, and just extend the spine. That's what we're looking for here. Wherever you are, start to walk the fingertips forward and lengthen the spine. Drag your tailbone back as much as possible toward the heels. The forehead might come to the floor. You may want it on a block. Let the hands be as wide as you need them to be to accommodate any tight shoulders. And then walk the arms and the torso over to the right, particularly lengthening out the left fingertips, the left side of the body. Drawing the left hip back as you also lengthen forward so you open through the armpit, the left side of the rib cage. And then coming through center and over to the left. Same thing, particularly extending through the right arm. The torso, of course, it's coming with you. Lengthen, feel your breath. And then come on back to the center. We're going to take a low lunge. So again, if you'd like to have some cushioning under your back knee, that's fine. You're going to step the right foot forward. You might want to have blocks or your chair here. Make sure you're not directly on that left kneecap. You want to be a little forward. Allow the hips to pulse a little bit forward and back. Just let them be heavy. Right? We want to be mindful of the low back. Lengthen the tailbone and draw the low belly in and up. First and foremost, we always want to be safe in our practice, and that can include a lot of nuanced details of alignment that are really important. And then come on up, press on up, press the hands to the right thigh and press away. So again, lengthening the tailbone, drawing the low belly in and up, and lifting up the whole front body. And we're going to make a twist here. So inhaling the left arm up, and then exhaling, coming around. So it could be here. It might be elbow to outside of knee. It might be armpit to outside of knee, further down. You'll see what you need to keep a very long spine and come into this twist. Maybe it's prayer hands. You'll see where you want to be. Beginning a class, so don't wrench yourself around too hard here. It's never worth it. Lengthening as we inhale and spinning as we exhale. And just feeling how does this affect the center of the body as we move from that solar plexus place energetically. And then come on up. And we'll take the other side, stepping the left foot forward. Starting with this low lunge. Letting the hips be heavy, just bringing up a little bit of sensation for the right quad, hip flexor. Finding your edge. Noticing how it's a little different on the second side. And as the mind wanders, if the mind wanders, as the mind does, just bringing it back again and again to breath and body, breath and movement. Come on up, hands to the left thigh, and press away. So we really find a length for the torso to begin here. The limiting factor can often be the thigh, actually, in this twist. So just finding that length, finding the quad hip flexor arrangement Inhaling and taking the right arm up, extend through the fingertips, and then we're going to take a twist. So it might be here, it might be here. You'll see where you want to be. And working your way in. And again, really going easy for yourself. Just finding exactly the right amount for today, for this moment. Might be different from the last time you did this pose. Find your stability, your easy, focused breath. When you're ready, undo. I'm going to do one more thing on all fours before we come to standing. Anyone who remembers Jane Fonda from the 80s, this is an oldie but a goodie, slightly repurposed. Jane used to do it pretty fast. We're taking the right leg back and we're inhaling. Point the toe in. This time you can lift it a little higher than the buttock. And then as you exhale, you're drawing in, curling in, knee towards the forehead. Get all the air out. Inhale, come back. So take it slowly, deliberately, really working through that glute muscle, through the length of the spine. Exhale, draw it in, curling. Inhale, lengthen, navel's drawing in. Again, what are we doing? We're firing up a little bit through the abdomen, through the belly. And one last time. Inhale, extend long, and exhale, come in. Pause, sit back and just notice. You can even take a hand to the solar plexus or to somewhere on your abdomen. Feel how you feel. Just notice. So often this entire region is just numb. We don't really know what's going on there or feel into it. This is an important awareness and curiosity project for some of us to uncover what goes on in this area. Let's come on back into the other side. So inhaling, left leg back, point through the toes this time, lift, and then exhale, curl. Curl in, knee toward the forehead, complete exhale. Inhale, back, lift. You might take the gaze forward. Be careful of your neck, wherever you are at with your own personal neck. Exhale, come in. Inhale, back. And exhale, curl. Navel to spine, rounding the spine as you bring the knee toward the nose. Inhale, back. Last time. And exhale forward. Everything out. Now, tuck the toes, come back to a little bit of a squat, or come up to standing any way you like. I'm going to do it through a ragdoll, lifting the hips up, keeping a bend on the knees, folding over. Take a nice deep inhale here. And then as you exhale, press into the feet, start to roll up vertebra by vertebra. You can take the hands to the thighs for some help if you'd like. If you have disc issues in the low back, you might not want to roll up. You may want to come up with a flat back. Making your way up. So nice. Okay, friends, we're going to take a forward fold. You can use 2 blocks. You can use the chair, whichever you like. Feet hip width apart. Hands to the hips. Lift and separate 10 toes. Lift the arches. And then place the toes down so you really have some space between the toes. Inhale, lift the heart. Draw the elbows back. And exhale, turn the pelvis over the tops of the thighs and fold forward. Long spine, hands to the chair or the blocks or your shins. Good, lift the kneecaps by contracting the quads. or however you like to think of it. It's a lift on the kneecaps and a lift on the quads. We still have a micro bend in the knees. You're not locking them out. No hyperextension for sure. And just find the place where you can find your edge and build a little heat through the calves, the hammies. And then as you're ready, inhale to come up, pressing into the feet as you lift up. And then exhale, come back to center. We'll take wide leg forward bend. Again, you can place the chair in front or the blocks, or maybe hands come to the floor. Legs wide. Outer edges of the feet parallel to the outer edges of the mat. Toes a little bit turned in. If that works for you, stamp those feet down, particularly the heels. Inhale and lift up really from the center of the chest, the center of the sternum. And then exhale, fold over. Once again, turning the pelvis over the tops of the thighs, kind of the feeling, to get some openness, space in that ball and socket joint. Hands coming where they're coming. You can do sort of a half fold, as I'm doing here, long spine, or if you prefer a full fold, to bring the crown of the head down to or toward the floor. Fingertips in line with the toes, elbows drawing in. Wherever you are, really lifting up with the sitting bones, making sure that you don't hang back behind the heels. And then as you're ready, inhale, lengthen, flat back. Exhale, hands to the hips. Inhale, press the feet down, come on up. And exhale, come back to center. Jump or hop the feet back together. And now we're going to look at the different set of poses, different orientation. Moving toward revolved triangle. Okay, so first thing is right foot forward, left foot back, and if you're using blocks, they're on either side of the right leg. The heels can be in line with each other, or they can be wider if you need more space for balance. And of course, figure out what you need front to back. The other thing is, this can be a lot on the back Achilles, right? And you don't want to have the heel up in the air. So if you need some support, you're going to put a wedge under your back heel. It could be a slightly rolled up mat. It could be a piece of blanket. It could be a washcloth, that kind of thing. But it's really important. We want to kind of feel that the heel is driving down, but we certainly don't want to cause any strain to the Achilles tendon. Okay, so here we are. You know, teachers used to say hip points are facing forward like two headlights, but I think that can be a little unrealistic on the sacroiliac joints. So best of your ability, depends on your own body, we're each a little different, we're facing forward here. And if you widen the stance side to side on your mat, you can orient yourself a little more that way. Okay, hands to the hips, feet are pressing down. Now this might be plenty for some of us, you could just stay here. If you want to fold forward, we're inhaling, lifting up, and we're exhaling, lengthening the spine and coming forward. Okay, so then it could be hands to the chair, hands to the blocks. If you're feeling like you want more fun, you can hold opposite elbows or take prayer behind the back. That'll engage the core a little bit more. It's a little harder. You decide. Main thing is really finding our stance on the legs and working to draw the right hip back in space to square off, if we can, as best we can. A few breaths here. And then inhale, step on forward, and we'll change sides. So now the left foot is forward, the right foot is back. That was a long intro the last time. So check out your right Achilles tendon here and see what you need. See if you need some support under it. It can be a lot, again, on this hip flexor on the right. So feet are drawing down, pressing down. Just finding that ease of balance, stability, foundation. And notice how it is right here in this solar plexus area. Just notice. Inhale, lift up, and then exhale, fold forward. So same thing, hands to the chair, or to the blocks, or behind you. Prayer or holding opposite elbows. And see now if you can slightly draw the left hip crease back in space. Begin to try and level off here best of your ability. And also extend, if that's an option. See what your body is wanting. And as you're ready, step on forward. Just pause a moment. Nice, easy mountain pose. Take one hand to the solar plexus and place the other hand on top of it. And just pause for a moment. You can soften the gaze or you can close the eyes. Feel the breath coming and going. Feel the rising and falling of belly and chest as you breathe. So we want to stay aware of this area. I was almost going to say awake. We want to stay awake too, for sure, as we move into revolved triangle, our next pose. So right foot forward, left foot back. It's the same stance. We're going to fold forward and then move on. So find your stable foundation here. Take a moment for that. The back toes are turning in, just like before. Hands to the hips. Inhale, lift up. And exhale, fold forward, slightly drawing that right hip crease back. So come first to this forward fold. And then as to the revolving, the left hand can stay where it is, or the left hand can start to move over to the right side of the chair or the block. I like to take the right hand to my low back for starters and just encourage the low back to stay nice and wide as I twist. So the legs are straight, the spine is long, and the left side of the rib cage is coming over to the right. So you can be here, I'm a little up, right? Or you can start from lower. But the main thing is straight legs, long spine, and then of course if you want to take the top arm up, you can do that as well. So this is kind of a nice, what I'm modeling here is a gentler version than what we often see for revolved triangle. Just really feel what that's like to draw the ribs across. And as you're ready, unravel, come on up, step forward. And we'll take the other side. It's nice to elevate the hand because then you have less chance of rounding in the spine, which is not a great place not a wise place to twist from, ergonomically speaking. So it allows you to have a long spine. Left foot forward, right foot back. Here we go on the other side. Find your stable foundation. Hands to the hips. Inhale, lift the heart up. And then exhale, fold, lengthen forward. Just find that lengthened place first. Draw the left hip crease back. Lots of space for the sacrum, for the low back. Then we can start to transfer this right hand over towards the left. So maybe we still keep the left hand inside the left foot. Maybe we take it to the outside. The quote-unquote traditional full pose is with the left out, the right hand outside the left leg, right, all the way over. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can shorten it here so you don't crank yourself around. So see what you need. So it's long spine, inhale, and then exhale, start to spin the ribs. And feel from that solar plexus place coming around, the right ribs coming towards the left. You can take the top arm up if you like. The gaze can be lots of places. If you have neck issues, you can keep the head down, or you can keep the head looking forward, or the gaze looking forward, or you can take the gaze up toward the ceiling. So it really depends on your own neck. And then as you're ready, unravel this one and come on up. Nicely done, everybody. Let's even it out with the last forward fold before we come to the floor. The feet either hip width apart or together. Inhale, lift up, and exhale, dive down. So you can be flat back, you can go more fully over. Could be hands to the shins, it could be take hold of the big toes with 2 fingers, whatever works for you in this forward fold. Once again, lift up on the kneecaps by contracting the thighs, the quads. Be here for a few breaths. And as you're ready, inhale, come on up. Okay, we're going to go down to the floor. I'm going to sit for a moment. So the idea here, just to kind of solidify it or clarify it, if I haven't been clear, is to become aware of this space in the body, to see, what is it when it's alive? What is it when I feel powerful in a very positive and connected way through the core, through the solar plexus in particular? And what is it when anger resides there, or inflamed situations that activate me there? And how can I be skillful in my, we practice yoga to be flexible in the body in lots of places. We also are practicing to be flexible in the mind, flexible in the heart. The solar plexus isn't a place we think of as flexible, so to speak, but it can be, right? Like open to our experience. We're going to take boat pose. So, sitting, feet on the floor. Take the hands around the outsides of the thighs and under the thighs, right behind the knees here. The first thing to do is ground the sitting bones and inhale and lengthen the crown up, widen the collarbones, and really feel the shoulder blades on the back, and then start to come back all in one piece here, and feel this scaffolding, this sort of corseting of the abdomen as we come back. And then you can decide, you could stay right here, you could lift your toesies off the floor, you could keep the bent knees and extend the arms. Right? Just be wherever you want to be. So it might be here, and it might be here, and it might be here. Or maybe you want to extend the legs in a V and hold. And breathe. You can even employ a little bit of kapalabhati, the forced exhalations if you like. Through the nose. You can lower down and come up a couple of times. See what you like. And then release, take a break, we'll take one more. And then coming on back. Once again, find the sitting bones, lengthen the crown, allow the torso to lean back, feel that core setting begin to engage. Lift the toes if you like, extend the arms if you like, collarbones remaining wide, extend the toes if you like, lower down further if you like, do what you like. Hold, pause, breathe. And when you're ready, release. One last offering before we come to stillness. It may not be for everyone. If your wrists don't feel great, you're not going to want this one. But just something to open the front body. After all of that, you can take the hands behind you with the fingertips pointing forward. Draw the elbows toward each other. Plant the feet in line with the sitting bones. And then press up, lift up. Chin can be tucked or head can be back. Just a moment or two, and lower back down. Good. And let's come to some stillness. You can take that blanket. You can place it in a number of different places. It might be under the head. It might be rolled up under the knees. I'll offer something today that's quite nice, which is you take it under the head. You've got the rolled side by you, and you just make a little bit of a tight, small roll here to support the neck. You'll know when it's just right. The back of the head should still be able to rest on the blanket. And then you can take your hands to the back of the skull and pull your head a little bit away from your shoulders, lengthen your neck. Be your own body worker. It's amazing. Then lay the head down and pause. You can take constructive rest. You can take a more traditional Shavasana with the arms extended, legs extended. So you decide a few moments of stillness and rest. There's nothing to do and nowhere you have to go. Just allow yourself a few moments of being. And begin to deepen the breath, wiggling the fingers and the toes. Take all the time that you need to make your way up to a comfortable seat. And of course, if you have a little extra time today for your rest, for your Shavasana, by all means, you can turn off the video. We love you, goodbye, and just enjoy however many more minutes you might afford for quiet. If you're transitioning back into your day, there's really a process of entering and a process of leaving. So our khatima, our seal on practice, has a few layers. First we sit up and we find this spinal orientation once again. And then we might take a hand once again to the solar plexus. And anywhere else on your body that just needs a little bit of love and care, be anywhere. The heart, the forehead, the back of the neck, a knee, Just allow yourself some loving attention in this place that we focused and any other spot. And by doing so, we also plant this kavanah, this intention for the week, collectively to notice anger, notice power grabs, notice ego, notice it in ourselves and around us with curiosity. And you can release your hands, and as we've been doing since October 7th, as part of our practice of sending out the fruits of our practice, the efforts of our practice out for the benefit of others, we send our energies to anyone who needs comfort, support, healing, for those who are suffering on all parts of this planet. And we make a prayer as this occurs in the liturgy on Mondays and Thursdays for the release of hostages, actually present in our liturgy. Achenu cultivate Israel. So Jordan's going to bring it up on the screen. I invite you to sing together with me or to just listen. Achenu cultivate Israel. Hanetunim b'tzara, b'tzara ubashivya, haomdim ben bayam uven bayabasha. Hamakom yerachem, yerachem marem, veyotzien mitzara, lirvacha, umeafel leora, umishibud ligeura, hashtam badalla, uvizman kariv. Soon and speedily may they be returned and restored. Just taking a breath or two to return to your space. Thank you, Jordan, for the screen share. And as we come back, my apologies for stealing a few extra minutes of your time with our practice today. Shavua Tov. And also Chodesh Tov, because by the time we meet, it will be Tammuz again.